Johnson, so far as that military is concerned, it was a force that for a very long time the Kurds, they held together, but in February there seemed to be a passing of the ways. How much will the removal of Mr. Ravalo Manana help to recoalesce, bring together those Kurds once again?
Well, the army as a whole has been split. I mean, clearly, I think two ways. One on Rajolina's part, and of course, the former president, Ravalo Manana. But I think it's going to be slightly difficult to gel them all together because these issues around all of them has been around corruption, issues around inequality,
right,
issues around justice and free movement of speech. And I think Ravaloni has actually come into display, especially with his television station and radio station, which he owned, trying to galvanize his people, trying to send a message of reconciliation, and somehow that message has been skewed, which has resulted in him becoming extremely angry, and of course more so recently the tit for tat between him, both players on the scene. But I think the military clearly has to take some responsibility. I'm hoping that the bloodless coup, clearly, that we've seen thus far maintains that status quo, and we don't see anything outside of that. But I'm quite concerned because the alternative is for the African Union or SADC to send in troops, and of course that would even cause even further problems. So militarily, it's a strange one, whereby the military is in charge. Clearly, they're using Rajolina as the individual who will be pushing their campaign ahead. But internationally, locally, the campaigns we've been seeing on the ground only within the last 24 hours are indicative of the fact that a lot of people are not satisfied. They want change even further, and the administration is going to struggle, seriously struggle, over the next couple of days and weeks as to how they can command respect among their own people, because large swathes of people refuse to do business with you, which we've seen time and time in places.
Now, Io Johnson, we've talked very much about the issue of corruption, but we've talked about it, I think, in abstract terms. Let's get a bit more solid about this. How much does the involvement of the Korean firm Daewoo, for instance, and their huge land purchase in southern Madagascar play into the hands of those that would accuse, or did accuse, Mr. Ravalo Manana of selling out, of giving away the national inheritance, selling the family jewels, if you like? And beyond that, you talked about gold, and I think you also talked about oil and oil exploration. Both are growth fields in this country. I think it's Rio Tinto and ExxonMobil that want to mine there. How much of these hurt the culture in Madagascar?
Well, we've got to look at it. Let's go back to the 1970s when the military took control of that country. They followed a socialist policy. That failed. Then in the 80s and 90s, the new free market economy was adopted, especially by Ravalo Manana himself. And of course, what's happened thus far is that they've opened their market. They've encouraged a lot of multinationals to come in and try and invest. But in saying so, a lot of these contracts are tinted with some elements of clarity, and especially on the issue of land, as you've mentioned about that with Daewoo. Clearly that negotiation and that contract has been literally cancelled or being reviewed in the hope that it will benefit the people of Madagascar. But I think the essence is about openness, fairness, and arrangements that benefit the people themselves. Because you can't say you've got all this investment, you've had debt cancellation, you've had endless amounts of aid come in, investment from multinationals, and guess what? The large percentage of the people are still poor. Abject poverty is an issue. Jobs, they're very few and far between. Access to education is for the few and the privileged. Basic sanitation is an issue. So when you think about all these basic things, then you see that the people have not benefited with socialism. They haven't benefited of the free market economy. And of course, a lot of numbers of them don't have food. You know, so I'm afraid both sides of the coin have failed the people miserably. And what is the alternative? That's the question, really, because only time will tell.
I'm afraid on the personality of Mr. Rajoelina, 34 years old, a former DJ. Does that make him fit for the purpose of being an anti-corruption crusader?
No, I don't think that the issue of personality matters very much. Corruption is an institutional problem, it's a structural problem, it's a cultural problem, it's a problem of neocolonialism. And the personality of an individual is not necessarily the panacea to the problems. So his personality may be charming. He may look like a reformer and so on. But that's not the issue. The issue is the extent to which the new regime would manage to bring about a paradigm shift.
Thank you for the moment.
The issue is about the restructuring of the national economy.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me just go back to
the distribution of the national wealth.
Thank you, sir. Let me just go back to Io Johnson for a moment. Io Johnson, it may not be the issue, the personality may not be the central issue, but the Constitution certainly is the issue here, isn't it, or one of the issues that should be a feature. And the Constitution of the Malagasy Republic, Madagascar commonly, says that someone who is below the age of 40 cannot hold the office of president. Now, this man is 34 years old. He has very little experience. He's never been up for national election. He's been the mayor of Antananarivo for just over 2 years. Does that really make him fit to hold the highest office in the land? And if it doesn't, should we be looking for other motives? Should we be looking for other people? Should we, for instance, be looking for Didier Ratsiraka? Should we be looking for the chief of staff of the army of Madagascar?
I think, as far as I'm concerned, personally, age should not really matter in this. If you've got the energy, if you've got the drive, if you've got the motivation, and you think you can actually bring something that's fresh, new, and vibrant for your own people, then surely you should be engaged in the system. The problem I have is that the fashion in which he's done it. Clearly, the Constitution does not allow him to become leader. The Madagascan people deserve better. And of course, he's had to suspend the Constitution via the coup d'etat, which has actually happened, to allow him to become president. And in doing so, it creates all sorts of problems. It means that it undermines the legitimacy of what you're trying to do. But I think personally, his age clearly shows he lacks experience, clearly shows that, in fact, he's going to become one of the youngest leaders on the African continent. That just tells you the story. And for a country where you've got all the problems, as we've mentioned previously, it's going to take a lot of experience and tenacity. But maybe, for all we know, as you rightfully said, it's highly possible that he may not be the person who's running that country. It could be the generals, the military regime itself. So he may just be a figurehead from that perspective. But in saying that, he's actually got to call an election very, very quickly. The sooner he does it, the better for himself and for the generals themselves. So,
and Io Johnson,
that's my take on that.
And Io Johnson, we've got about 20 seconds left. If you could just tell us, how long do you think it'll be before the real powers behind this throne will reveal themselves, if that is the case?
Well, they'll have to very quickly, because sanctions are going to be imposed very quickly on them. They're being isolated. No one's actually going to do business with them. A country that relies primarily on international aid, big donors like the United States and Norway and a few others actually saying we're stopping that aid coming through. Financially, they're going to be in trouble.
Io Johnson, I'm sorry to have to stop you. I was enjoying what you had to say, but sadly, that is Four Corners. I'd like to thank my guests for their oversight, and of course you